headquarters of ITN, News at 10, with Trevor McDonald.
Prince Charles says he was faithful to Diana until. Major defends European veto and says he'd do it again. The rail talks at ACAS go on into the night. And Bates goes out on another day of Wimbledon sensation. Good evening. News at 10 learned tonight that the Prince of Wales has admitted publicly for the first time that he was unfaithful. The confession is implicit in an answer the Prince gave for an ITV documentary to be screened on Wednesday. He says he was faithful until his marriage had irretrievably broken down. In the same program, Prince Charles says that as king, he'd be happy to be considered defender of faith in general, rather than defender of the faith, that is the established Church of England. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Owen reports.
Never before has a member of the royal family talked so frankly.
A programme which has been a year and a half in the making will be shown on Wednesday evening, a detailed look at the life of Prince Charles, complete with his views about a wide range of subjects.
Charles, the private man, the public role.
The makers of the Central Television documentary for ITV have struggled to keep the content secret. It's already been revealed, though, that Charles, on succeeding his mother, wants to lay less stress on ties with the established church. He thinks that with Britain now a society of many faiths and ethnic groups, it'll be time to redraw the laws which bind the sovereign to defend the one faith of the Church of England. Most interest, though, will be in what Charles says about Diana, about the marriage which ended in separation in December 1992. ITN now understands that in Wednesday's film, Charles is asked if he was faithful to the Princess of Wales. Yes, he tells the interviewer, Jonathan Dimbleby. Then he pauses and adds, until it became clear that the marriage had irretrievably broken down. When that happened is not apparently spelled out, but the unhappiness of the royal couple was pretty clear. This was during a visit to South Korea near the end of 1992. In constitutional terms, the personal behaviour of monarchs does matter. Quite specific vows are made, as here at the 1953 coronation, to defend a religion which disapproves of adultery.
Sovereign Lady, Queen of this realm, and defender of the faith.
25 years ago this week, the Queen invested Charles as Prince of Wales. He wants his reign as king being one in which all faiths would be defended.
Prince Charles hasn't broken the Constitution, but he has broken, if you like, conventions of decency. He's created one hell of a problem for him and the House of Windsor.
Wednesday's film also mentions Camilla Parker Bowles, someone the Prince is known to care for deeply. He describes her in the documentary as a dear friend. All the fuss about his marriage has not done Charles much good, not done the monarchy much good. His supporters hope that this week's programme will help restore his reputation. Even a Prince of Wales can't be sure what the public will make of 2.5 hours intense scrutiny of his life. Nicholas Owen, News at 10, Buckingham Palace.
Mr. Major made a strong defence today of his veto of the Belgian Prime Minister Jean-Luc Dehaene as President of the European Commission. He told MPs that if necessary, he'd use the veto again. Mr. Major said being a good European didn't mean signing up to everything our partners proposed. Labour, Liberal Democrat leaders and Sir Edward Heath criticised him. Most of his backbenchers cheered him. Our chief political correspondent, Glyn Mathias, reports.
The Prime Minister intends to maintain his controversial stand over who should be the next president of the European Commission. He said he won't back down over the blocking of the Belgian Jean-Luc Dehaene and is demanding that Britain should now be involved in active consultations over alternative candidates. His party was in buoyant mood over the use of Britain's veto. Whatever the pressure from the Germans, John Major said he wouldn't change his mind.
Other European countries indicated that they could accept Mr. Dehaene. I maintained my position that we could not. I reiterate that position in this House today.
After the previous climb down of a European majority voting, this was what most of his party wanted to hear.
The decision that he took in Corfu on the presidency at the weekend was not only right, but courageous and popular.
But the opposition parties described the summit not as a triumph, but as a humiliation.
Events this weekend show not that the Prime Minister is strong, but that he is weak and a prisoner of his Eurosceptics.
His attempts to portray the Punch and Judy farce at Corfu as Henry V at the Battle of Agincourt with himself in the title role is, to say the least, deeply unconvincing.
Only Ted Heath voiced the doubts of pro-European Tories, asking how the crisis would be resolved.
The fact that he considered himself forced to use the veto is a matter for regret and not for rejoicing.
The problem for the Prime Minister is that any alternative candidate might prove to be just as unacceptably federalist as the man he vetoed. Downing Street insisted he was ready to use that veto again. Glenn Mathias, News at 10, Westminster.
So, will Germany and France continue to champion the cause of Jean-Luc Dehaene as Commission President? Tonight, their foreign ministers suggested that they would. They said they saw no reason to find an alternative candidate, although Chancellor Kohl showed some signs today of bowing to Britain's veto. Here's our diplomatic editor, James Mates.
Headlines all over Europe spoke of Britain isolated once again. Those in France and Germany were particularly vitriolic. But the message from London was unequivocal. Belgian Prime Minister Jean-Luc Dehaene is not going to become President of the European Commission. He doesn't quite seem to believe it. He says he's still available. Nor, it seems, does the German Foreign Minister Klaus Kinkel, who met his French counterpart this afternoon. They say that Mr. Dehaene remains the only candidate, although, of course, they have no power to override the British veto. The German Chancellor, Helmut Kohl, was more conciliatory, hinting that he would now abandon Dehaene and start the search for new candidates. But amid the recriminations, questions about how Europe got itself into this mess. The Belgians today said Britain had given them no warning that it was about to veto their Prime Minister's candidacy. But Foreign Office officials say that in the weeks leading up to the summit, senior British diplomats had warned the Belgians, French, Germans, and the Greeks who were hosting the summit that Jean-Luc Dehaene would not be acceptable to Britain. Douglas Hurd gave that message in person to the French Prime Minister and the Greek Foreign Minister. They concluded simply that British warnings had not been taken seriously. On the streets in Germany, there was little sympathy for Britain's view.
I doubt whether it's a very wise decision to veto the answer of, or the vote of 11 other states.
He started to be a better European than Mrs. Thatcher was, so now he's not such a good European anymore.
The affair will have done little for Britain's standing in Europe, but at the same time, Britain was not alone in wanting to show the French and the Germans that they can't simply decide these issues between themselves.
The countdown's begun. Another rail strike on Wednesday, but both sides in the dispute are still talking tonight at the conciliation service ACAS. At the start of the meeting this afternoon, rail track managers from meeting the demands of the signal workers, but there was a mood of determination to try to break the deadlock. Our industrial correspondent Mark Webster reports.
Travelling down from their annual conference in Liverpool, the union's negotiators held out little hopes of a settlement. Their main sticking point remained money up front for past productivity gains. And though Railtrack's management had been talking up the chances of success, they said they were merely clarifying the package they'd first put to the unions a week ago.
There was a new package put to the trade unions on Monday. Clearly there is some confusion on that package as a result of comments made by the trade unions. I hope with some clarification this afternoon we can see then a way forward.
But the unions want assurance that none of the 4,600 signalling staff will be worse off under the deal and that there's fresh money available.
Well, I would hope there is, because if there isn't, we've had a wasted journey down from Liverpool.
At their union's conference, signal staff have been reluctant to talk publicly for fear of victimisation. Two who did said the strike remained solid.
We're quite prepared to talk about restructuring, and we know that's going to come, but we certainly want an interim pay award.
Eventually we'll need to step up the action to react to the way that they've treated some of the inspectors and supervisors who they've bullied into working the signal boxes, you know.
That threat of escalating the action increases pressure on both sides to find a solution tonight.
We're going live now to Mark Webster at ACAS. Mark, what's the latest? Is the talking still going on?
Well, the two sides went in here more than 7 hours ago. They've just finished their second face-to-face session. That's all of them round a table with an ACAS negotiator. Now, that second session lasted more than an hour, which on the face of it has to be a good sign, since the rail union said before they went in that unless there was something new on the table, not just a question of going over the old ground again, there was no point in holding this fresh session of talks.
Mark, I heard what you said in your report, but do you get the sense that Wednesday's strike might be averted now?
Well, one shouldn't underestimate the enormous gulf that there is between the two sides still. However, Railtrack has certainly been trying to talk up the possibility of a settlement. I think the very fact that they've been talking for so long about a detailed package which they knew fairly well, I think does augur extremely well. If they do decide it's something worth putting to the union, they go back to Liverpool, and then there is still a possibility, I put it no stronger than that Wednesday's rail stoppage could be called off.
Mark Webster at ACAS, thank you. President Clinton announced a major shake-up of his senior White House staff tonight. The move follows widespread criticism of his administration. At a White House press conference, the president said the changes would include the replacement of his chief of staff and boyhood friend Thomas McLarty. The budget director Leon Panetta will be taking over. Mr. Clinton said the changes had been made for very positive reasons.
Today I want to announce some changes in personnel in the White House that will add strength and vitality to this White House and to our administration. In the coming months, this White House faces a series of major challenges that are critical to the American people. To meet those challenges here at the White House, we must use our people as wisely as possible, matching their talents to their responsibilities.
President Clinton speaking tonight. A possible clue to the M40 school minibus disaster last November emerged today at the inquest on the 13 killed. A pathologist said he found the remains of a spectacle frame between the thumb and forefinger of the driver. She may have been taking the spectacles off or putting them on at the time of the crash. Here's our Midlands reporter, Adrian Britton.
13-year-old Holly Caldwell, one of two schoolgirls who survived the M40 crash. Her life and that of her friend, Bethan O'Doherty, most probably saved because they were sat at the rear of the minibus. Bethan clutched a small teddy bear as she told the inquest how her friends were in high spirits, laughing and shouting as they returned home from a school concert in London. A trip which ended in horror when their bus crashed into a motorway maintenance lorry parked on the hard shoulder. 12 children were killed, most died instantly when the fuel tank exploded.
In all cases, they would have felt absolutely nothing. They wouldn't have been aware that there was a fire.
Also killed, the driver of the minibus, schoolteacher Eleanor Fry. The pathologist said she died clasping the rim of her spectacles, which may have indicated she was removing or putting on her glasses at the time of the impact. The families of the dead children have waited 7 months for this inquest.
Once that is over and done, then we could start really to think about the future.
Later this week, the inquest will hear evidence from a university professor who specialises in the study of sleep. He'll be questioned over whether driver fatigue could have been responsible for the crash. Adrian Britton, News at 10 at Leamington Spa.
Coming up next on News at 10 tonight, Agassi bows out, how the Wimbledon hopes of another former champion are dashed. Record drug busts at Glastonbury, how the big city dealers are moving in. And the train crash caused by vandals. The fiancé of the passenger who died speaks of her anguish.
We had the whole future planned. We were getting married next year. I knew everything that we were doing. It's ruined my life.
Of course, I don't allow cooking in the rooms, only in the kitchen, which I expect to be kept spotlessly clean. You can have the bathroom all to yourself between 6 and 7 in the morning. And no male visitors after 9 o'clock.
Come in. Welcome to the Ritz. I'm in the suite next door. Thought you might like a coffee.
It takes Nescafe's unique blend of the finest quality beans to really make you feel at home.
She's a bit of an old battle axe, isn't she?
Who? Oh, you mean Mum?
The Citroen AX from just £79 per month at 8% APR plus deposit and final payment. And until August 31st. There's also 1 year's free insurance. Discover what Citroen can do for you.
Shell's always been great for miles per gallon. But watch. 2 Peugeots, one filled with Shell, the other with new improved Shell Advanced. Carbon deposits can cut fuel economy, but used regularly, Shell's new patent detergent is even better at cleaning carbon. Here's where even Shell runs out. But new improved Shell goes on and on. New Shell goes miles further.
Here's a Safeway offer that's sure to take off. Buy a pack of 6 Safeway tomatoes and you can get a cucumber free. Another summer special from Safeway, where good value comes naturally.
You know, I can still remember the very first sweets given to me by my grandfather. They were Werthers original, and I was poor. I had a bit of trouble opening that shiny golden wrapper, but then, well, I'll never forget that first taste. Sweet and creamy and uncommonly good. I remember feeling I must be someone very special when my granddad gave me his wonderful butter candy. Well, now I'm the granddad. And what else would I give my little grandson but my Werthers original? After all, he's someone very special too, you know.
Believe it or not, Britain's most popular quality paper, the one that outsells both the Independent and the Times put together, is now only 30 pence. The Daily Telegraph, National Newspaper of the Year, now only 30 pence.
Fly economy with the Citroen AX. Discover what Citroen can do for you.
It takes Nescafe's unique blend of the finest quality beans to really make you feel at home.
The weekend rail crash at Greenock near Glasgow, in which the driver and a passenger died, has led to more railway vandalism. Pieces of concrete and other obstacles have been found on 2 other stretches of Scottish railway line. British Transport Police are mounting extra patrols. Glenn O'Glaser reports from Greenock.
There's nothing left of the cabin where train driver Arthur McKee died, killed instantly by this slab of masonry from the bridge the train hit after it was derailed. There had been 6 previous incidents on this track this year. Just half an hour before he died, student Alan Nicholl had kissed his fiancée goodnight.
He saved my life. They've really ruined it. They've ruined his mum and dad's as well. Never got over it. Never, ever. I don't know how they could have done it. I really don't know.
Alan Nicholl was worried about the vandalism on this track, and so he used to sit directly behind the driver for safety. Tragically, when this train was derailed, that was the worst place he could have been. This driver had a narrow escape only last week when vandals attacked his train. Today, he spotted a road sign which had been thrown onto the track. It's a constant fear.
Is he going to get a brick through his window? Is he going to get something placed in the track? This is in the back of the driver's mind when he comes out to his work to do his shift.
Tonight, police want to question a group of teenagers spotted near the scene. Glenn O'Glaser, News at 10, Greenock.
2 of the contenders for the Labour leadership, Margaret Beckett and Tony Blair, campaigned for Labour today in John Smith's old constituency, Monklands East, to the east of Glasgow. The by-election there will take place on Thursday. Mr. Smith, at the last election, had a majority of nearly 16,000. But now the seat doesn't look all that safe for Labour. John Draper explains why.
Labour were tonight trying to introduce a degree of harmony into what's been an acrimonious by-election for John Smith's old seat. Tony Blair spoke of the importance of the by-election to the party.
It is a vital step on the way to the election of a Labour government and a Labour Prime Minister in Downing Street.
But it looks increasingly as though the Scottish nationalists are giving Labour a run for their money on their own ground. And despite the good humour when opposite camps accidentally meet on the street, the Monklands by-election's been bitter, with allegations that the Protestant Airdrie district in the east has been deliberately neglected by the Catholic-dominated Labour Council. While 2 miles down the road, the mainly Catholic Coatbridge district is said to have been lavished with leisure and other facilities by the authority. Labour admit there is an imbalance. The Scottish nationalists hope to reap the political reward.
Well, the Tories have been running this place down from London. The Labour Party have been running Monklands down from Monklands. People want change for the better, and here that means the Scottish National Party.
The Conservative candidate may have a massive task in trying to take the seat but the Tories are enjoying Labour's discomfort.
Well, I think a lot of people are very concerned about the way in which the district council has behaved. There is a lot of controversy over that. But what is also encouraging is the recognition of the economic recovery that is beginning to come through here.
The Liberal Democrats, who admit they're in a battle for third place, say they've stuck to the economic issues.
We've tackled the issue of jobs. I think we've done it effectively. And if you actually go out onto the doorstep, people like what we're saying.
This evening, all the candidates will appear on Scottish television for a debate. John Draper, News at 10, Glasgow.
Altogether, there are 6 candidates in the Monklands by-election. Voting will take place on Thursday. The commanding officer of Private Sean Taylor, the British soldier shot dead in Bosnia, is demanding that local Muslim and Serb forces name his killer. Taylor was shot last night at a UN observation post in the enclave of Gorazda. Private Taylor was 20 and came from Cleveland. Leslie Harrison, the Merseyside policewoman stabbed by a man high on drugs, left the police force today. She never regained full fitness from the wounds which nearly killed her. And Rachel and Jonathan Collins have been refused treatment by their dentist because he claims they eat too many sweets. Sharif Khan said he wouldn't treat them because their diet showed no sign of improving. Their mother said they eat no more sweets than other children. Police say they made a record number of drug arrests at the Glastonbury Music Festival in Somerset this year. Almost half the charges involved dealing, not just in marijuana, but in harder drugs like ecstasy, LSD and heroin. Police say their operation has now exposed how big-time drug dealers are targeting music festivals. Adam Holloway has our special report.
A long weekend in the countryside, deep in Somerset. Nearly 100,000 people gather to see more than 1,000 performers. Walking around the site, recording events with concealed cameras, it was obvious that drugs were widely available and freely offered.
Do you want some acid?
What's that do?
It just strips you out. It makes you like have a wicked time. Like everything goes really colourful and bright.
Does everyone take it nowadays?
Oh, yeah.
What have you got?
Mushrooms.
What do they do?
Hallucinogenic, I suppose, yeah, hallucinogenic. Like acid, but natural, less aggressive. Right, 10 tobacco wins off him, 10 of these off me, 25 quid, and you have a belt in night, mate.
Ordinary festival goers have this to say about the dealers.
You've got to be careful, like, because there's a lot of dodgy people selling a lot of dodgy chemicals to unwary people.
Nobody's coming up saying you have to buy it. If you want to buy it, you buy it, but if you don't, you don't. It's all part of the whole thing, you know.
Drug dealers have always targeted anywhere that generates large crowds of young people. But over recent years, dealers from Britain's big cities have particularly focused on music festivals. It's not only marijuana they sell. We're about to be offered China Whites, another expression for heroin.
What have you got, mate?
China Whites.
What?
China Whites.
What do they make you feel like?
They make you feel high.
Like what?
They're better than dubs. Better than dubs.
Yes! For a cash-strapped rural police force, the festival's expensive. This year it cost about £750,000.
Here we have a whole range of drugs right across the board, from the serious Class A drugs of heroin down to cannabis and amphetamine. This only represents a very small, with something in the region of 200 arrests, a large proportion of which are drug-related for personal use and supply of drugs. This is just a small representation of what we've actually seen at the festival this year.
Good trip in a packet of this.
To keep the dealing down, the Avon and Somerset force are using new tactics, more undercover officers and selective searches on the traffic coming into the area around Glastonbury to stop the dealers getting there in the first place. Almost every other car stopped at this checkpoint contained drugs. This van was no exception.
It does provide an opportunity for people who are interested in purchasing drugs. Very few questions are asked, and it does provide them with scope to operate within the confines of the festival.
Amongst 100,000 or so people down at this festival, there are drug dealers still operating, as there will be at many of the festivals this summer. As the police changed their tactics, so too did the dealers. Forces across Britain will continue their battle to separate the people who want to buy illegal drugs from the suppliers, most of them based far from this Somerset Valley. Adam Holloway, News at 10, Glastonbury.
Tennis and disappointment tonight for Jeremy Bates, who was hoping to become the first Briton to make the men's quarterfinals for 21 years. Frenchman Guy Forget beat him in 4 sets. But there were bigger shocks today. The people's favourite Andre Agassi was knocked out by fellow American Todd Martin. And Zina Garrison-Jackson's win over Arantxa Sanchez Vicario made it the first time ever that the 2 top women's seeds have failed to reach the quarterfinals. But Martina Navratilova's hopes remain high after she beat Helena Sukova in straight sets. Graham Miller reports.
Greeted by a rapturous reception, Jeremy Bates was the calmest person on centre court as he arrived with Guy Forget just after 7. And when the British #1 raced to a first set 6-2 lead against the Frenchman, Wimbledon turned into a red, white and blue party. But just as quickly, Forget, who beat Bates at the same stage 2 years ago, found his winning touch, once at all. As the evening wore on, errors were as dramatic as winners. How the Frenchman missed this one will always remain a mystery. Although the light was good, Bates found the increasingly slippery surface hard to deal with. Referee Alan Mills saw nothing wrong with conditions, and Forget, who didn't look like a man back from a long injury, began to take control. In the end, Bates was beaten comprehensively, and unlike the crowd, he had no complaints about playing so late at night.
I didn't think it was unplayable, because if it was, I think I would have stopped. And I was totally outclassed the last 3 sets. Totally. So, I mean, what can I say, you know? I had no answers.
Andre Agassi, the people's champion, had a tough day on centre court as well. Todd Martin, all 6'6" of him, was too strong. The #12 seed out for another year. And Arantxa Sanchez Vicario kept up the clatter of seeds. She lost to Zina Garrison-Jackson the first time the ladies' top seeds have gone out. Now tomorrow, Martina Navratilova at 37 is through to her 20th consecutive ladies' quarterfinals. She says this is her last Wimbledon, but supposing she's required to defend her title next year. Graham Miller, News at 10, Wimbledon.
That's News at 10 tonight. We're back tomorrow. From all of us here at ITN, good night.
Hello, good evening. Well, if you like your weather warm, the south and east was the place to be today, and it will be the place to be tomorrow. But some signs of things cooling down as we go into midweek. Warm weather coming up across the country from the south. Then we'll have a weak front coming across the country before the cool weather arrives. That's for the second half of the week. But for tomorrow, that weather front's going to plague the north and west with thicker cloud and outbreaks of rain. It may brighten up from time to time, but it won't amount to a great deal any sunshine you do get. Well, central and eastern parts, well, the odd gloomy patch to begin the day, a little bit of mist, but the sun quickly coming out, though the odd patch of thicker cloud may linger near this western coast. But as we go through into the afternoon, the temperatures begin to build up, and that will set off 1 or 2 showers, and they're more likely in the west and across southern districts, particularly in the late afternoon and especially through the evening. A warm and sticky day across much of England and Wales. Top temperatures around 23 to 26 degrees Celsius, 26 is well into the 70s Fahrenheit. But then somewhat cooler, around 19, 20 degrees Celsius, that's the upper 60s, and much cooler right up there in the very far north. Well, that's it from me for this evening. Here's tomorrow's summary chart.
Sponsored by PowerGen, a partner in Kinetica Natural Gas.
The Rover 214 Special Edition with 7-spoke alloy wheels, electric front windows, remote-controlled alarm, sports seats with Silverstone leather trim, from just £10,495. How do they do it?
You're an experienced driver, and here's your reward. Landmark's created insurance expressly for you. It takes a load off your mind. Because we won't cover careless drivers, you don't carry their costs. You get outstanding service, including optional protected no claims bonus and express claim settlement with free courtesy car. Now, this service is only available if you're 45 and over. If not, please be patient. Stop carrying careless drivers. Phone Landmark now, 0500 747 700. Thank you.